He's taking photos and selfies over there, as he should. Thank you again, Johnny. As we begin this evening, we start with a gentleman from Oklahoma to a legendary career in Seattle, a Walter Payton Man of the Year, who's a Pro Football Hall of Famer and a former United States Congressman. This is Steve Largent.
Stephen Michael Largent was born on September 28, 1954 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He graduated from Putnam City High School in Oklahoma County and in 1976 received a bachelor's degree in biology from the University of Tulsa. Largent was the star receiver at Tulsa and led the nation in touchdown catches in 1974 with 884 receiving yards and 14 touchdown catches. In 1975, he had 51 catches for 1,000 yards and 14 touchdown catches. After being drafted in the fourth round of the 1976 NFL Draft by the Houston Oilers, Steve played 4 preseason games and was then traded to the Seattle Seahawks. He became the first Seahawk selected to the Pro Bowl in 1978 and was selected 6 more times throughout his career. In 1979, he led the league in receiving yards with 1,237, and 6 years later did it again with 1,287 in 1985. In 1998, he was named Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year for his community service. In 1989, he received the inaugural Bart Starr Award for serving as an exemplary role model on and off the field. Also in 1989, Steve was an inaugural inductee into the Seahawks Ring of Honor. Steve is the namesake of the Seahawks Steve Largent Award, started in 1989 and awarded annually to the team member who best exemplifies the spirit, dedication, and integrity of Largent. When Largent retired after playing 14 seasons with the Seattle Seahawks, he held all major NFL receiving records, including most receptions in a career at 819, most receiving yards in a career at 13,089, and most touchdown receptions at 100. He also holds the distinction as the first receiver in NFL history to achieve 100 touchdown receptions in his career.
Everybody always would say, well, keep your eye on the ball, keep your eye on the ball.
His number 80 was retired in 1992, the first Seahawks player to be so honored. It was briefly unretired during Jerry Rice's stint with the Seahawks in 2004. Rice idolized Largent growing up and switched to number 80 after college. Steve was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1995, his first year of eligibility. In 1999, he was ranked number 46 on the Sporting New list of 100 greatest football players, the only Seahawk to make the list. On November 29, 1994, he was appointed as a U.S. representative to Congress from Oklahoma's 1st Congressional District, where he was known for working across the aisle. He served through 2002. He held a seat on the Commerce Committee, was the vice chair of the Energy and Air Quality Subcommittee, and served on 3 additional subcommittees: Telecommunications, Oversight and Investigations, and Environment and Hazardous Materials. In 2000, Largent received the NCAA's annual Silver Anniversary Award, honoring students who had distinguished themselves 25 years after the end of a collegiate athletic career. In 2003, Steve became the president and CEO for the U.S. wireless industry's largest trade association, CTIA, the Wireless Association. During his time at CTIA, he drove policy on the Hill, directly impacting the wireless telecommunication ecosystem. Steve met his wife Terry in junior year of high school and has now been married for 48 years. They currently live in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They have 4 adult children, Kyle, Cassie, Kelly, and Kramer, and they now have 10 grandchildren. Steve is a longtime supporter of Young Life and the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. He is a huge advocate for the Gridiron Greats Assistant Fund and is happy to assist former teammates and help other players access the resources that they need.
The Gridiron Greats welcome Steve Largent into their Hall of Fame. Steve?
The distance is hard, but I won't let it swallow you. From New York to LA, Vegas to Santa Fe, oh, baby, I'll follow you. I'll follow you.
Thank you. I usually say thank you for that sitting ovation, but I can't do that with you guys. Well, I do want to say how pleased I am to be named to Gridiron Greats Hall of Fame, and not because of anything that I've done, but because of what they've done for my teammates, for my opponents' teammates, and everybody else that the Gridiron Greats helps. And you wouldn't believe, well, I'll tell you, when I was drafted by the Houston Oilers, I negotiated my own contract, and I got $28,000 for the first year to play, $35,000 for the second year to play, and $42,000 in my third year. And I thought I'd done a really good job. You can imagine what that looks like to today's players, where they're getting multi-million-dollar contracts. But the thing is that I ended up getting cut by the Oilers, and it was probably the best thing that happened to me, although I didn't think so at the time. And I got a phone call as soon as I got home, and the guy from the Seahawks said, "Hey, we worked out a trade for you. If you want to come up and play, we'll give you a second chance." And so I went to Seattle and got a second chance and really took advantage of it. I would say that one of the real things that is not often spoke about, but is obviously true, is that the offensive coordinator that I had at the University of Tulsa, where I went to school, had gone to Seattle after he had finished coaching in my senior year, and that was Jerry Rome. And so Jerry was jumping up and down asking the Seahawks to please draft Steve Largent, because he had implemented our whole passing game from the University of Tulsa to the Seahawks. And so eventually the Seahawks told him, no, we're not going to draft him. But they said, we'll after I got cut, they said they worked out a trade. And so I was drafted in the fourth round because the Oilers had a second-round draft pick and a fourth-round draft pick, and that was it. But they drafted me in the fourth round, and the Seahawks were able to negotiate a trade for an eighth-round pick. So I was drafted in the fourth round, and then traded for an eighth-round pick. But I'm in Seattle, and it just so happened that my offensive coordinator Jerry Rome had put our whole passing game into the Seahawks game plan. And so when the quarterback said, you need to line up I right 79, I knew exactly where to go, how deep to run the route, when the quarterback should throw the ball, because I'd been doing it for 3 years before I got to Seattle. But that's the long story about how I ended up in Seattle and not in Houston. But I want to tell you that during that time, I played 14 years in the National Football League, and met a lot of guys that I played with, a lot of guys that I played against. And I can tell you that there are many guys who signed contracts for $28,000, $35,000, and $42,000 or less over the course of their careers. And some of those people, some of those friends, some of those opponents, but some of those NFL players desperately need the help that the Gridiron Greats is supplying. And that's what I wanted to say to you all tonight when I got a chance to speak for 2 or 3 minutes and tell you about my career and how important the work of the Gridiron Greats Assistance Fund is for players like me or others who, that just didn't make the kind of money that a lot of people associate with the NFL today. So I just want to say thanks to the good people at the Gridiron Greats Assistance Fund, to Kathy and others Karen and others that have done a great job of keeping this thing going. And my hope is that they continue to do this work and it grows even bigger. So thank you very much. God bless you.